let's have a look at ISA 40, which is investment property. I don't think we covered this. You'll shout at me if we have, but I don't think we've covered this. And investment property in our notes is found on page 114 in terms of part 2. I think with all standards, ideally you rote learn and understand, but you rote learn a definition so that that definition can be included in an exam answer, but only really that will earn you 1 mark, because the majority of the marks are always going to be available for the application of that particular standard. So we do need to start with a definition of an investment property, and I have the following definition for an investment property. An investment property is a property that you have for investment. Yeah, I think that's really what it is. It's a property that you're holding for its investment potential. So by definition, you're hoping it's going to go up in value, or you're hoping to get some rental income. So it's an interest in property that is held for its investment potential. It is held for its investment potential. Now, if it's an interest in land and buildings which is held for its investment potential, that means that you are thinking, you are hoping it's going to have capital appreciation, it's going to go up in value, and or rental income, It cannot be used by the business. So if it's head office, if it's the factory, if it's the warehouse, and you're hoping it will go up in value, it's not an investment property because you're using it as an operating asset and you're using it as PPE. So an investment property has to be separate from the business activities so that you can sell it and it wouldn't disrupt activities. It's not an operating asset. 2 things come from that though. If I'm a subsidiary, I could have a property which I let to my parent company. So if I'm a subsidiary, I could have an investment property that I let to my parent company, and in my books, that's an investment property. But in the group accounts, it would not be an investment property because in a group context, you would, not be letting it outside the group. That's one small point. Second small point, if you own 40 acres of land, you could farm 5 acres and let out the other 35 acres to a neighbouring farmer. So one asset one piece of land could be partly your asset that you use, operating asset, PPE, and the other part could be an investment property. You could own a building that is 40 stories high, and you could be in the first 5 floors as a head office, and then the other 35 floors could be regarded and rented out as an investment property. So it is technically possible to split one asset into 2. So it cannot be used by the business if let to another group company then in the group accounts it is not an investment property, but is in the individual accounts. If it's let to another group company, parents up, then in the group accounts it is not an investment property. But it would be an investment property in the individual accounts. And that requires you to understand group accounts, the difference between the individual and the group. Yeah, is that okay? You can subdivide a property into part investment property and part PPE. 5 acres, 35 acres. 5 floors, 35 floors. Yeah, the building, the land can be subdivided. The building, the land can be subdivided. So you can have an investment property with the partial own use. That is possible. If you're running, if you have an asset as an investment property, then it's either standing idle or you're letting it out. Now, if you let it out, maybe the tenant wants Wi-Fi. So maybe we provide Wi-Fi. Maybe the tenant wants security. So we provide security. Maybe the tenant wants cleaning, so we provide cleaning. Maybe the tenant wants a receptionist, so we provide a receptionist. Maybe the tenant wants computers and desks and beds. Hang on a minute. We're running a hotel. Hang on a minute. We're running service departments. We're running an office administration centre. You must not provide additional services. If it's to be an investment property, you're collecting rent. Period. Well, maybe you could provide the internet, or maybe you could provide security. But if you provide the internet, security, cleaning, yeah, then you're providing ancillary services and you're running a business. And the point about an investment property is it's not a business, it's an investment. Yeah? So, yeah, it can be idle. Investment properties can be idle. They can be empty. Yeah, they can be idle. They can be idle. We can only provide minimal additional services. We can only provide minimal additional services. So investment properties can be idle, they can be vacant. Yeah? And for an investment property, you must only provide minimal additional services. Wi-Fi, yes. Security, yes. Reception is yes. But if you provide all three, it's too much. You're providing a service, and therefore you're trading, and therefore it's not an investment. Right. We now know what an investment property is. An investment property is a property which is held for its investment potential. It's held for its investment potential. That means that we think it's going up in value, or we think we're going to get a rental income from it. Cannot occupy the premises. You can occupy part of the premises, and then the other part is the investment property. Now, there is an accounting policy choice that you have with your investment property, and the accounting policy choice must be applied to all of your investment property. So the accounting policy choice allows a mixed measurement system. I could have investment property and they're all at cost. You could have investment property and they're all at fair value. Now that would mean a user would be confused if they were trying to compare our accounts with each other. So we have a choice. If we use the cost model, we charge depreciation. If we use the fair value model, there is no depreciation. So the cost, depreciation. If we use the fair value model, there will be no depreciation. If we use the fair value model, the gain or loss goes to P&L. Really important. If you revalue PPE, reserves, OCI. If you revalue investment,